What's going on, everybody? Andrew Scott here with Elevated Web Marketing, and this week I want to talk to you a little bit about how to design a successful social media campaign or strategy or whatever you want to call it. The point is, I want to talk to you about how to actually achieve the results that you're looking for in your business with your social media profiles, because I see a lot of people out there that don't really know what they're doing on social media or don't have a clear-cut strategy or goal and are really just lost in the woods. So I want to help you find civilization again by going through a few things here. And the first thing I want to point out is that you don't want to just be lost in the woods of social media. You want to have a clear goal. You want to know where you're going and what you want to achieve. And it starts with having measurable goals. So number one, setting goals, and number two, having them be measurable, because it's kind of like a GPS, right? If you don't tell the GPS where you want to go, it can't fill in the steps to get there. It can't tell you what roads to go down, what turns to make. It's not going to be able to calculate your route. So if you don't establish where you want to go and what you want to do and what you want to accomplish with your social media campaigns and make that goal measurable, then you can't really figure out the steps to take to get there. I mean, it's just being intentional with your actions, right? You don't want to just willy-nilly be lost in the woods, like I said. You want to be able to measure the progress you're making towards your goals. Because if you're trying one strategy, right, and it's not really driving that metric, it's not really getting you closer to that goal that's measurable, because you can measure it, then you can try a different strategy and see if it helps you more towards that goal. Because if you're not able to measure things, you're not able to manage them, improve them, critique them, and basically adjust and adapt and figure out where you need to make changes and where you don't. So you want to track how things are going, and the way to do that is by having measurable goals that are quantifiable. So make sure you be intentional with your actions. Make sure you are intentional with your actions on social media, and you're actually taking action to get yourself closer to these goals. So once you have that figured out, you want to figure out who exactly you're trying to reach. So you might have heard of a buyer persona or a customer persona before, your ideal client or market or person who is basically you want to sell your products and services to. So you want to nail that person down, because depending on who you're talking to, the message that you're going to give them is going to be different. So if you're a bathtub installer, right, you're going to speak differently and have a different message and speak to different pain points to someone who's a new homeowner than you will to somebody who owns an apartment complex and is looking to have a bunch of bathrooms renovated, right? So the apartment complex owner might want to redo his bathrooms so he can have new bathrooms for his tenant, new bathtubs for his tenant, and he can advertise that to his market and attract people that way. Whereas the homeowner just wants to get rid of this old bathtub that's in this house they bought. They really like the house, but the bathtub is kind of grody maybe. So you're going to speak to those two people very differently. They have different pain points, different needs, different desires, but you need to speak in their terms, right? You need to speak to how their problems are going to be solved by your products or services. So it's about having that kind of message nailed down and really figuring out who you're talking to and what you're saying to them. Because when you speak in their language, like I said, in their pain points, their needs, their wants, you're going to speak a lot more directly to them. They're going to connect with it a lot more. There's a saying that goes, it's something like, I don't know the saying. The premise is people don't buy round drill bits, they buy round holes. People don't want the features of your product and service, they want the benefits that it brings them. They want the problem it solves, like I said. So if you can speak in terms of those benefits instead of those features, then you're going to connect with your customers a lot more, and you're going to really speak their language. And that's how you're going to really drive results with your social media campaign. And that brings me to the third thing I want to talk about, which is the 80-20 rule. And I've talked about this before, but it's basically 80% providing value and 20% asking. So once you have the message figured out, your goals, and who you want to target that message to, you want to speak about, basically, you don't want to just sell them, right? I've talked about this before. You don't want to just pester them like, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me. You don't want to do that. would you do that if somebody came into your brick and mortar store? Would you just walk around and follow them and say, hey, you should buy this, you should buy this, you should buy this? No, right? Because they probably wouldn't like it. Well, they don't like it on social media either, so don't do it on social media either. Instead, you want to give them value. You want to tell them how you can help them, what your product and service offers, what it provides, and just educate them on your industry and your product and service, because then they can feel better about making an educated decision about whether to buy your product or service or not. And if you've marketed it correctly and you've basically expressed why they should buy it without explicitly asking them, when you do ask that other 20% of the time, they're going to feel a lot better about it, because here's you who's been providing this customer with all this great information on your product, giving them all this tips and advice and everything. And people like when you help them. And when you help them, they subconsciously feel obligated to help back. And if that's giving you their business, then that's giving you their business. And maybe it's not. Maybe they don't buy from you because they don't end up needing your product or service, but maybe they refer you to a friend of theirs and their friend ends up buying from you. It's just when you give more, you're going to get more in return. So don't just ask all the time. Make it a good 80-20 balance, because you're going to build trust with those people, and people do business with those they know, like, and trust. So just you want to build these customer relationships by giving value and not just taking and asking and constantly trying to sell people. It's like a used car salesman, right? That's really pushy with the car, that's trying to get this car off the lot and into your hands and is clearly working on commission. You don't want to be that business online on social media. You want to give. So always give, and then ask the other 20% of the time. So we've covered who you want to reach. We've covered what your measurable goals are. We've covered why, which is the message, why people want to do business with you. And we've covered how, which is by giving value and then asking the other 20% of the time. Giving value 80, asking 20. So the only thing missing is the where, right? And for most local business owners out there, the where is Facebook. You want to be on Facebook because that's where over 2 billion monthly active users are. Over 50% of the adult population in the US is, and maybe you're not in the US, but it's probably quite high. Over 50% of the adult population is active daily. That's where your customers are, so that's where you want to be. That's just marketing effectiveness 101. So definitely get on Facebook, start implementing these strategies. Remember the who, what, where, why, who to reach, measurable goals, and your message, and really get that in front of the right people. And then how, with the 80-20 rule. Give value, you'll get value in return. So with that being said, guys, that's all I had this week. My name is Andrew Scott. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you next week.